Hello, species value nature system. This is pantheism. Pantheism, it was revealed about the one identity of value that our nature is, simultaneously, as the value of what is the order onto the finite, what is the order onto, and as the value of our active value, body of value, as fact treatment nature, no, in active, and as progressive value, that we could simultaneously discern distinctly and non-distinctly has a relationship to an even greater identity that is also before and beyond this, to other semi-natures of its complete nature of value, which is an identity of volume, which is the nature of volume, which is a Trinity's value/value nature relationship to itself. And see, the ancients revealed this working as a species before internation sciences were criminally re-engineered. And so they were valuing how we are a nature of volume to be a science this way, because there is a little bit more of an identity coming in. And the only way you can do it is by being a simultaneous value, distinctly on, non-distinctly onto each age of us, group 2. We're in value nature systems tactically ulterior from this one to make them self-valued effectively before our founders were born. So now they had all identities of science. Victim predators, worse than obfuscating and valuing having been obfuscated, the identity the scientists share simultaneously. English was revealed to teach about how we are the nature of volume. We are the nature of volume while we are a nature of volume. But we are a nature of volume as a positive or negative relationship to this identity of relationship to itself. We are as how all things are its identity, contained by its identity. This is bigger than big, Allah Akbar. And this is smaller than small. And this is about the Trinity. Jesus Christ says he is the Alpha and he is the Omega. This is about the identity of our nature as a polarity nature. This is about the identity of the value to the ground from what is a nature of leverage before it, then being the value of the ground, then being the value of its progression, then being the cultivation of that value, then being and being the value of it progressively as an earth simultaneously distinct and non-distinct relationship to this complete identities, simultaneously distinct and non-distinct parts of relationship to all parts of space nature, the smallest thing, every active thing, and every progressive thing, together grouped in at once, distinctly and non-distinctly that way. That's so it's invisible but still discernible. See, we have this quality of fact treatment nature, a breaching method effectively maintained, everyone incapable of standing correlation nature simultaneously inherent active and progressive means with truth. Because we have theater victim predators, usually overt ones like real or made up, and the news reported before, the major news channels reported about people being trapped in houses. Natures of depravity, because those are, before someone was that sick, the persons in the areas, victims, he said the neighbor, he had no clue. Seemed like a good guy. That's what everyone says. And all the time, good people are being hurt by the experts on psychology. This is also how we have nations individually grouped and together sick. I'm not a doctor, not a police form, not a criminal. Jesus Christ would say The messengers would demonstrably say the campuses from before them were already criminally re-engineered. So common sense, the human fact treatment nature was built into a criminal insidiousness nature of positive. So what defends that? So in other words, too, this is the news. I beg you guys. You guys are like some of the best examples of proper manners. But see, that exception is exploited whereas and how you guys are involved with all the other natures of like child abuses and stuff like that, because you guys are speaking through interbranch, coerced, recorded, identity theft crime acts, natures of crime acts, roles with other people from my town interbranch through time. With each age of thing with interbranch family members with their kids, pretending they had conversations with me, pretending words came out of my mouth that never came out, forcing rape threats against me online, against women, and then sequence shifting, hiding that in cases, demonstrating that true to women, playing games with. There's also a private on off the campus police and how they shifted that not just to protect the people with escalating problems with the areas around Trinity College, Hartford, Connecticut. This was designed by an organized crime method that used color. And not one person ever treated this with quality fact treatment nature. Our organized crime bodies failed. Correlation nature simultaneously, our organized crime countering bodies. And because they're in collusion with the overt criminal enterprises. They're in collusion with a whole bunch of nations originally still grouped individually together and sick. Natures of private industries, you can't have to value them because of the nature of the negative value nature progression. Each modern nation, we're in an identity of negative value nature progression, the species nature of volume. Each person, grouped, dash sex, age, area, all that grouped, the group nature of volume. It's a group nature of volume, a demonstration to us. English is about the identity the sciences share, not just algebra. So I'm going to take positions into even with the algorithm. This is how you understand the algorithm. This is identity's course. This is the dimensions of three dimensions in our range as value nature, where nature is value, and nature distinctly and non-distinctly because it has a distinct and non-distinct relationship to itself again, Allah. But at the same time, this is in relationship to all the sounds. The language is individually coupled and grouped, are connected. For example, how we have Latin. There are proofs that we need to be able to raise our voices. For how courts are forging names, switching names, using crime methods, where they keep attaching people to fake things. Interbranch, individually grouped and together, maintain criminally foreign influence through Washington, D.C., Trade Center agreements. For example, with things they go, oh, people, they throw words out there. You maintain, for example, pharma. This is on off campuses, on off on concepts, on off fact treatment nature. This originally still it recorded how it motivated because this exploits all fake sides. No, this is from off campuses, off the ground of education, off the ground of fact treatment nature value, then on off campuses in layers. Roles with reaction with what maintained originally and still valued states and areas criminally foreign influenced. Criminal insidiousness nature that never had the right to be legalized. All victims, of a theater that only let theater think. Let no one blink till we're free. Until there's liberty true, until there's liberation true, there's no liberty. It's breaching rules. Its identity is a breaching screen. Fake patriotism. Valuing sacrifice exploited. Valuing other sacrifice exploited. Valuing that not let to demonstrate exploitation of each identity of job, including and especially regarding the ones of the law. God knows they're a critical value. I'm not saying anyone, of course they're value, but we have them criminally used through time. Sicker than most criminals, and in collusion with the overt criminal enterprises, private ones. They're keeping the branches individually grouped together, needing to hide life aggressions, having had to perfected natures of crime criminals, identity thefts, natures of gun crime roles, motivations, methods, and needs, and natures getting away with it. Natures also needing correlation nature, valued each age of it, not by accident, not capable of them using correlation nature simple, but only not simple because we're in an identity of negative value nature progression, fake sides each modernization, self-valued, not by accident. See suits and ties, see counters. Same thing, they don't know how to defend. The same right through generations, they're making the same mistakes with the defenses of the religion, what they call scientific, because they're going about running by sensibilities, not demonstrated with physical delusions. These are fact-treated nature ages. This is about the identity of the ground. This is about before the identity of the ground. What is leveraged to the value of the identity of the ground's relationship to the progression from it, which is then further positive or negative. So with the ancientgaming-system.com, we're setting up pantheism here. And this is and with the Campus Marcia, this is gonna work also with Little Rap Guy and Friends, where how they're semi-counter extorting New York City, Hartford, and the neighboring suburbs and nations. Because our species volume needs it. Because the species volume is extorted and forced to fact-cheaping nature, blame or stay content with what would maintain originally forced value. The real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures blamed on other things other than themselves. Acts like predicate acts, which are organized crime acts, natures of crimes, like mail crime, facilitated by criminal enterprises. I'm not a police form, not criminal, not military. This is regarding different takes on the same thing. See, but they're recorded, lifted each age of title. Military too. They're military originally, still criminally foreign influence. Our founding fathers didn't have free speech, and they wanted that demonstrated with the extent they did and the way they did. Their identities were stolen. We still have Americans going, although they own slaves, so forget them. Really read it, it's right there. If they tried to correct those things, you know what would happen to them? They stole their identity. They were forced to say their identities were stolen. What do you think they made some people be able to read, some not? Everyone reading stuff skewed. I mean, nuts. In other words, not pseudo positive, insidious, like roles with a organized crime method that is long term. James Madison did the phenomenon of preempting what was all measured out and would stay measured and did stay measured out anyways. Just did damage control. The same way the messengers of religions could only do damage control, because the nature of quality of fact treatment, nature of the species working together is what revealed English. And it was revealed that it's still only hyper positive or negative. Hyper was like even faster. Now Leith of Hadith since semi-ancient times, to keep everyone blaming the wrong causes for it, even even the stewards of English, because no one understands how. In other words, all the sounds have an identity they share, like all the complete identities of our body share our complete identity over as a one nature of sequence, nature, and demonstration. So we understand this about this nature of sequence, nature, that all complete identities are simultaneously semi-nature relationship to. We have a complete identity over control over all parts of our body, but we still need water. The identity of positive is in demonstration of what is temporary, of what is temporary positive as negative, as criminal insidiousness nature. In other words, and that's also as lasting identity value. But this is per a fact treatment nature quality and nature of care, whereas and how this has all other natures and motivations and roles of liars, facilitated formally overt criminal enterprises, private one valued, and all that. All victims only let realize each individual, group, sex, and together. You can't speak for men or women's rights properly without speaking for the exploited nature of volume in Hartford, Connecticut, where American history begins, where George Washington had to leave overt slavery, meeting in Wethersfield/Hartford right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War. In the North, too, slavery was left in New York City. Bad things were made to unfold and blamed on other things like money. That's not the cause of it. That was with all victim predator. That's victims who need to blame just to pretend to be positive, whereas and how each individual voice needs to protract their means to demonstrate inherent active and progressive identity thefts of their quality of fact treatment of their own identity. And that's tied to database solutions, stealing the identities of everyone, right? In databases, they're pretending it's opinions, legitimate. So I don't. In other words, it's not personal news. I respect the news. All people are good people, but you guys are the ones offensively blaming the wrong people for what they're tricking you and hurting you guys and lying to you to do that, recorded. And then they're criminally influencing you to say you don't, because you don't see the evidences. That's why it's important to understand that you still made to a fake conversation with the media. That's why how they forced a leader of the kids not to be told on. And they charge people, like, if you try to tell on someone when you catch them with child abuses, they'll have the person confess or whatever, then they have them call you back a bunch of times, leave messages. What are you going to do? You're going to call back. Then now they have the truth to say that you call back a bunch of times. And they attach lies to it, pretend they don't know the other stuff. Pretend they don't have the courts criminally used already through time. Confessions regarding it, online regarded, juxtaposed natures of crime acts and crime roles, and with Hartford courts, other Middletown courts, one-way reports, with a whole bunch of people associated with the area of the lawyer of former director of the FBI. And with him, in his defendant, leading up to his defendant capacities, with crimes against me, with other people, and with foreign and domestic military, on and off CCSU. I never saw Eric Burgess on the campus of CCSU in my life, by the way. These are people also with the deans, recorded and confessed, with predicate acts roles, with that are male crimes and identity thefts with people from off campuses, and drug crime roles with people that on off campus houses locations, like too many names. There's a Kerr family recorded online, and this is with a Dillon family, a Sean Dillon and a Kevin Dillon with military, foreign, and domestic. See, now they're making, they say, oh, those are allegations. Those are allegations. These are people that were crime roles facilitated per them. I don't know them. They sought me out for this. Include after and then with, I barely know them, like Justin Klavinskis, recorded and confessed involved with this military police families also, with the interbranch police, ones that use the Hartford, various nature Hartford courts, and for the hosting of a deposition where defendant of the FBI was a defendant with co-defendants. A whole bunch of them were facilitated the crime acts roles with a house in my area facilitated as victim predator confessions and recorded per the same natures of courts and people associated with them and their family members through time. See, now these are also a house like with a family member called Phil Cololo, who Bob Chase associated with New Britain Superior Court and associated with state police involved criminally, foreign and domestic police, military, foreign and domestic. They don't know. See, they're all speaking with other people's information. These are database crimes, but these are also identity of the ground, uses of sequence nature, which is also a simultaneous nature of value, which is in reaction to how our fact treatment nature is a nature of volume with a reaction as a reaction nature, relationship to its value with criminalization nature, vetting used for criminal foreign influence, used for what kept and keeps missed natures of crime, because this came first. The first sophistication was this entrenched organized crime method, not just tied to databases, not just tied to human fact treatment nature, tied to the value of the identity of the ground, which came from before it. What is an unceasing value transfer value? And to understand that, you have to be about the science of the identity that is distinctly and non-distinctly onto and as five simultaneously connected semi-natures. We have five senses: hearing, sight, taste, touch, smell, and many spell. So this is pantheism, about this identity of value that our nature is. And this is not just a game. It only feels like game. See, the species nature's value nature system has inseparable connections to our quality of fact treatment nature that is invisible but still discernible. It has connections to our quality of scientific reception of itself, the identity the sciences share, per science actual. See, we have criminally foreign influenced identity, the ground's value, roles that originally still maintain lie progressions. Lie progression cover up nature's needs and styles. styles fighting commonly, distinctly and non-distinctly, and needing to do things like hold their hands up, for example, in a physical fight. We have styles of liars needing to pretend religion means what it doesn't offensively because of how they're involved with identity thefts against everyone that involve how they're maintaining value measured each individual group together and progressively recorded devalued. That's it. The longer we leave forsaken devalued nature, human factory nature, you're leaving what can't stand correlation nature simultaneously inherent and active and progressive means needs more and more to pretend that things as police to pretend things are recorded into databases. They have real creeps like these two Domain brothers. I never met the Adam Domain, never had a conversation with him. The other one was recorded involved with the in the past, and then demonstrated as an adult involved with the people involved with the child offenders further. His roles further criminally involved with FBI and with CIA, and further criminally involved with Fox Connecticut News and with the policing of downtown clubs, with identity theft crime acts against me, timing where I'm going to walk, have people make it look like I knew them before I did, because they put sequence shifts in there, whole ages. This is no other extended family members uh, um, of this per his other family members of this Phil Collo pretending to know me through time. I never had a class with him. I never hung around with Phil Collo. His cousin was brought into my school in fourth grade. When I was in grammar school, I never had him in my class though. And then they had confessions tied to the people that are involved with Stop and Shop, with the buildings on off that location in Wethersfield, the one in Hartford, with the child offenders further, with the family members of them further involved with this Dillon family, with this Kerr family. But these are people that were doing this with judges since they were kids. These were people sick with Middletown with the same house/S. So you see the people 2-3 times. They facilitated them to lie because they knew where the girls were going to be walking. They know that these people are going to be in classes. You're never going to see them in the hallway. If you do, it's going to be times where someone already made a confession about that girl. They're doing bad things. They're maintaining the pathology set up to be maintained by what built tactically denatured relationship to nature and Native American rights devalued originally. Even if they're settled, their rights aren't valued. And what is native until it's valued, negative value nature progressions, action nature, they're going to stay. Has value nature system has nothing to do with all the fake conviction nature's opinions. They're all dishonest. That's recorded when you need mandated law. These are people from Connecticut, intercampuses crime acts on off the campuses with all natures of police, foreign and domestic, overt criminal enterprises. They just happen to be involved with training people with acting coaches and stuff like that, and people with acting departments that were the people involved with like two twins, Carone brothers. I don't know them. In other words, I walk by and they try to film other. That's with the people associated with the Smart Violet and with the military police involved with ones with predicate acts and with crimes against people that were in the Trade Center attack context in the Ninth Circuit for further tied to how a proven sequence shift was from inside the Ninth Circuit affected. That showed the panel of judges in the Ninth Circuit Trade Center attack context Manhattan post-dated documents from in there. That was proven after the Trade Center attack. That led up to a 2006 case with former director of the FBI, who was involved with the straight pattern of crimes against me and others and everyone from on and off CCSU. And it was also within as people that had affected confessions from people, from little girls and stuff like that I never had a conversation with. No, they have the setup. They have the identity of the ground, the identity of where people are going to walk, used to cover the life progressions. They also have other crime methods like making confessions, and then to make that value needed hid, to keep it valued needed hid. They're locking them in like gangs. That's why they're back and forth, same fake positive nature narratives. The gangs and the police, and we have physical delusions and a whole bunch of natures of crime recorded but uncharged, and how motivated self-value, in other words, and used to maintain criminal foreign influences per the same crime methods against their own and other nations, using psychology's roles with statutes that are criminally foreign influence, delusions wrought, and that are used criminally. In other words, for fact treatment nature tricks, like they bought these statutes in a magic store where they can pretend not to realize exceptions that they're exploiting. Sickly, sicker than most people that could do many years in jail. I'm not saying throw anyone in jail. Throw the people with the rest of the child abuses with the principal child offenders campus in jail for lying to the judges, because I don't believe the women judges have roles with this now, with the men ones too, retired and standing. Various natures of courts and their family members were facilitated to this. There are a bunch of FBI and people associated, military, foreign, and domestic, facilitated to crimes on off campus locations, especially where they're involved with psychology, and ones with badges, like with the FBI in New Haven. Those clubs are used criminally. The guy called Arnold. Their narratives with that K2 substance. Those are people involved with the state, on off the state judicial branch offices, with houses that were facilitated to databases, crime acts roles. Also with people associated with this Dillon family in my area. His former partner of his, per the adults now involved with child crime predators with the schools more. When you call up to report this, they're lying about what you said, and they're being directed to pretend that they don't understand. In other words, I asked to report for response to the confessions and the rape threats and the recorded sick uses of the kids. And that's with people recorded and confessed further involved, like an O'Brien family, who made confessions and demonstrations of their crimes and roles with overt criminal enterprises, other nations' police. In other words, they didn't say the other nations' police, but they said Congress, and with their offensive evidence reception crimes. And they said that they're lying to girls and stuff like that, about other kids in grammar school, even. And then they're doing sequence shifts, pretending, because people are writing fake people into fake locations, conversations with other kids that never were. Because then they're making them pretend that that's why they had differences when they're in middle school. And then they pretend that they know them in high school, criminally setting up exceptions. I had nothing to do with Michael Kerr in high school. They say, "Oh, there was no, his locker was right near you." They put that there with Heather Hansen and him and Joe DeMoro, like they were involved with police forms and with prison clicks and with doctors with drugs crimes and with their brothers with policing of stores and crimes with black and white and with psycho religious people and with overt criminal enterprises, various natures of them, various nations in the territory of Puerto Rico. Now, these are people also involved with fire departments and with Russians and with people that are involved with influencing CNN. Then when you try to mention it, they get mad at you. It doesn't have to be proven, it's recorded. And then and then they pretend you have to prove things because they're making up things in the background. They've been doing bad things on off CCSU for a lot of years, on off Trinity College for a lot of years. This was confessed when I was a kid, on off these people tied to Lance Cuddy and his brothers. I don't know his brothers' names. Tom DiCiaccio, his sister. They're victim predators with their family, with the houses next to the state judicial branch offices, with some guy named Joe associated with these military police, with this Hartford, and with the foreign and domestic, with the Russians, with the Italian gangs, with the Puerto Rican gangs, in collusion with mail crime acts, identity theft crime acts, crime act, sequence shifts. These are the people that were crime acts with a Scalora family also has recorded and confessed one of the extended relatives of one of the families in my area associated with this Cololo family, with the Phil Cololo involved further criminal with the kids, and with drug crimes with these two Mendez police, interbranch, forging names, switching names, crime acts roles, and with military police and through time their crime rolls with drugs and stuff like that, pretending to be the fake locations, their crimes with teachers that involved that were persuaded not to follow the rules when they, in other words, they were facilitating drug crimes because they were using that to maintain the sensibilities of everyone hiding the drugs and hiding what was told to them in those contexts. They're using it for that criminally. They're making drugs sound good. They're not good. The patients of these doctors are recorded and confessed involved with them criminally outside of before they're even arrested too. The prisoners too with these doctors. Further, ones from Sandy Hook and Newtown recorded with the interbranch from my town and their state offices, not just the state prison offices, on off the state judicial branch offices, on off the houses next to it, all victim predators, all victims, but all victim predators, including uses of color, especially regarding uses of color. Look at Hartford, Connecticut. It's an exploited nature of volume. Hartford, this was built to stay. This note the Berlin Turnpike leads right to the heart of Hartford. Right at the end of it, a Fred Grisey is also recorded and confessed with people in his family associated with the Leahy family. Now, I never saw them in the same place. I don't know this Leahy family. I know that they attached me to fake their crimes with the CIA and with the FBI, further involved criminally with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and with his lawyer, Robert Chevrolet, and with various natures of judges, retired and standing, and with child offenders, and with this Dillon family, with the foreign and domestic military, involved with criminally with houses in my area through time, with my name. So now they're preventing me free speech each year. Then they tell you, oh, get a job. Hey! These people are extorting me. These people are extorting. These are people who are with recorded criminally with that demonstrates recorded criminal uses of each of the gyms in Connecticut, with the same rat mob flow filtered through the houses in my area rolls with it as victims, but as victim predators. But through you have to counter the individual group and together the crime methods they're using with wire crimes, attaching me and others to fake relationships to others, fake locations, fake sequences, They're switching names because they're preventing identity of ground means to counter their identity thefts. Uses of black are identity thefts. Uses of fake care for counter it, pretending other people are prejudiced, is also roles. That's not what it is. It's criminal insidious nature. It's no free speech unless it's fake and pretending other with criminal. In other words, as styles sharing the same means to hide lies, as styles, as quality of fact treatment nature, sequence shift nature, devaluing styles preventing mandated laws, revelations. The New York game and pantheism is about how we're all working together to make each individual more value. They're going to correct us. This is going to reveal evolution. And we're going to work for the other states and they're going to work for us. That's why we're going to do it, because they're going to work for us, because we're going to work for the species at the same time, which will be fun because we're working for the species nature of volume. And if we work for it the right way, it connects with the greater nature that the Santa Claus is about. Well, no, but we'll get to that. Before it's about that, it's about what causes evolution and its fruits. The nature of the value as the nature of volume of a clause, it only fills, it only gains. Who trains? It only feels like games. So the New York game is for we're going to set up for all the cities, and I'm going to species beg too, because we need to if we can do this, we can set up, we organize, and this is at the species at the same time. See, we need to breathe. There is so much strain, especially on the people in this what was built. See, the pathology of infrastructure equal of nations, just different styles of the same illness that was forced by criminally foreign influence zoning laws and laws against free speech and torture laws and breaching method laws that since before modern nations founders were born as a semi-ancient organized crime method that modern religions are about. So it's not just to be about the Trinity. It's not just to be about Allah. You say, oh, that's what it says. That's not what it says. If you follow the beginning, it says everyone. There's different kinds of unbelievers, and the unbelievers who are not involved with that nature of criminal insidiousness. For example, I mean, paraphrasing, those are those are more valued than the ones who pretend to be and think they are Muslims all the way, but they're not. This effectively maintains the states and areas of each modern nation as quality of fact treatment nature that has our leaders wanting and needing to tell them that we can't defend ourselves when that stays. But the reason he's not telling us that, the reason our leaders aren't telling us that is because the states and areas of nations individually grouped, all mass, locked, invested this way. Value systems tactically ulterior from what causes evolution. No. All we have to do is admit this below bottom, and everyone, and a method that locks everyone. Release. See, this way we fight, we train. The way that fights the herd's not won, because we're going to liberate the species nature of volume. It makes fast evolutions, means its fruits, its gifts. When we redeems, they will read the Santa Claus. I will tell no lies. Especially if and especially if not. Especially if not, that George Washington didn't say that about the cherry tree, because I heard a rumor. I don't remember where I heard that he might not have said it. In other words, he had to come to Connecticut, CT, which is short for maybe cherry tree. Even if he didn't say that, didn't mean that. Even if he did say it and didn't mean that or did not, but especially if he didn't, he did or did not say it, and someone said that because of where criminal insidiousness nature is a topic, where and how black is a topic, where and how white is a topic, where and how black and white are both in demonstration of how one identity is self-generating. Each part of itself that is smaller than the smallest thing we are. Then, while as the value of the finite, the smallest thing out, the smallest part of our body up, while as our active value connected, all the simultaneous individual sequence natures of our body sharing that one sequence nature, identity nature. As this one altogether has our simultaneously has our complete nature simultaneously, semi-nature relationship to it. We need water in demonstration of this. We need food in demonstration of this. See, but now it's through a system filtered where all our victims only capable of having and valuing having had the blame, the real causes of negative value, nature, progression, tax, and teachers, blaming all other things, because we're in building all reliant upon mass farming. Victim farmers too. They, everyone locked in the house styles not by accident. All these ponds put a fountain in there. Nothing deep, not by accident. And not by accident, everyone blames it on other. That's the method. This is an organized crime method that did before anything, while it's everything, and beyond it. He doesn't care anything about money. Cares about. So I just got distracted by someone a post. Who's AB? Someone liked my comment, but they didn't answer who AB is. I don't know who AB is. I think it's a fighter. Must be one of the fighters in that fight. I have to watch the fight again. Boxing. But the science is sharing identity. Boxing. So all we have to do is this is what every nature longs, every person longs is course. I'll drop the four. In other words, so we need to be able to yell. In other words, even if we don't yell, having that right is part of what we need to counter how they're maintaining the leaders of each branch criminally foreign influenced and delusions rot, and having only experienced theater regarding the real causes of the negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, and regarding what they couldn't fathom. Everyone filtered through this victim predators. Same way they make victims who become like gangsters, and then they'll shoot you and stuff like that. Because they're controlling the corner now, and ulterior America. But see, they're the victims first. So what are you going to do? They're explaining that to the guy, the police forms. Then they're going to go after them with language, as roles with language. Then you can't defend that. In other words, you're facilitated to what the real organized crime is. Maintaining the areas, blaming the real causes of negative value, nature, progressions, acts, natures on other things, on others themselves. All you need to do is to spin a wire and spin a magnet around a wire that's coiled. For example, they spin the wind turbine to make energy. All we have to do is maybe bring easements on how people can afford things, so we could leverage an identity of relationship to the ground's value and to our own value simultaneously, which is again active and inherent and progressive, and by what is value greater than that, not just greater overall. Overall is negative value nature or positive value nature. Identity nature is complete nature. Finite nature is positive or negative value nature. Because it's more and more more than that, because it's a relationship to what needs constantly stayed more volume of positive forever nature, the temporary positive for slash lasting positive forever nature that is also temporary slash lasting positive, also positive. See, temporary positive as criminal insidious nature is temporary positive of that nature, negative nature. Negative is a nature of positive, whereas how this identity will only stay both positive and negative, positive to itself. Perfect value progression. So we have fact treatment nature obligations, scientific obligations by a value progression system that these are tactical ulterior from. And we need free speech. And we need freedom of religion, but we don't have them. And we have other pretended offensively. And that was facilitated. And that was facilitated juxtaposed for other motivations, roles, needs, and natures with that. And that kept and keeps that exploited not just there, but with life progressions tied to each standing value treatment. In other words, each identity of age is a quality of correlation nature, a value of correlation nature. Progressively, where it is now, it is self-generating. But now these are people being asked to go into identities of jobs that are, now, what do you want to do? It's all right, you want to do something, but this is what people really want to do, and not being left free speech. Others being pretended they want that countered. They don't realize it. They want to be told the truth. We have liars calling other people liars. This is also tied to how they have people walk up to you and make confession. They time people to be next to you for a second. You don't even know who they are, but they know your name because they're having people told them, or you know their name. The only reason you know their name because people were telling you about them simultaneously. This is used per what is really recorded, use hurting each age of fact treatment nature. You think those are our means with elderly home? They have to eat at a certain time. Hup, you mess up because that's their job. We have each position of time too fast, too slow, being used for a torture method. We used color. See, we're gonna switch this, and we're gonna make, to afford means too, but we're gonna have to beg for free means too, for the space, because in other words, there are people in every city of this nation who are our nature of volume want their tactically denatured relationship to nature countered, and they need to find the means to demonstrate that. Is science's course. And they want to do it without leaving forsaken, nature of volume ignored. Pretend all it's culture, it's prejudice. It's not prejudice, it's an organized crime method against our founders who didn't have free speech. The narratives about them in databases were beyond their control in many ways. They want George Washington, if it is true, which we were told, then he can tell no lies. That means he did not chop down the fake branches. which is recorded truth, because he left overt slavery with color and with a whole bunch of other crazy laws against everyone. You couldn't even mention building homes outside of infrastructure that was tactically unsafe. In other words, this pathology of infrastructure that unfolded was forced then for what it did for now. It effectively maintained negative value nature progressions acts in natures, acts like predicate acts, natures like criminal insidiousness natures, like wrongdoers, like wrongdoing, which are organized crime terms, which this is an organized crime conversation. We use color, not prejudice, an organized crime method, which is multi-front, uses of misprision liars, different people that know each other or not because they're misprision interwoven too. Misprision, what's that mean? Oh Lord, means a whole bunch of liars. Colleagues say, committed prayer. In other words, affected as sensibility natures, as criminal insidious natures. As sensibility natures that are used as tools, as breaching screens and weapons, and whereas and how our fact treatment nature is valued. So we're going to make three natures of auto creators. We're going to make one who's voted the best leader, who wants to run for leader. And I'm going to be auto creator, and I'm going to train, and we're going to have fight with me and whoever wins the voting process, who's the best auto creator. And we're going to do it in relationship to counter positions we're going to take with American history, so we can discern how each colony was in a trap simultaneously, sickly distinctly, so they could then, just like states are simultaneously sickly just hurt now, just like modern nations are sickly hurt now distinctly, so to keep perpetually effectively having kept and keeping how sickly non-distinctly from being discerned, and to keep that self-valued now. See, this is a semi-ancient trap that came from before Arabic and English. It came from before modern religions. Greatly about languages, for example, when Jesus Christ says he is the Alpha and he is the Omega. This is about A stands for Alpha, O stands for Omega. And Omega is first left to right. Yin Yang. I mean, it's first right to left. In other words, it was first Yin Yang is first the feminine, and then the male alpha left to right is first. But neither one of those is positive, and the identities of relationship to each one is temporary positive changes and demonstration of lasting positives, two natures of it, three natures of it, and the nature of relationship to itself, which is value/value nature. So the dimensions of something, you could say there are three dimensions. Or you could say that there are five dimensions. From the identity, in other words, but we have a quality of fact-cheap nature that has each of the sciences offensively with physical delusions. People will say, "Oh, you have physical delusions." See, well then, before this, in other words, before this, though, however, They're preventing free speech from demonstrating how they have physical delusions by using crime acts to demonstrate it. They're recorded crime methods. They're not letting this reported. We have a criminal justice system associated with Washington, D.C. Trade Center attack manifest. I just saw on TV they had an advertisement for a drug, for mania. It has all kinds of bad side effects, and even some that are fatal. These are people recorded using those places. 3 times they use a triage place, forced me into a triage. One time, for real, I had to force to tell my mother. I wouldn't tell her why. I needed her to call the police. I told her, you have to tell them. This wasn't me being paranoid. This is in the context of my father's death and with a child offender that was involved with that criminally. A whole bunch of other people with confessions to me. And I figured out what they're doing. See, I figured out now even more. See, because there's a whole bunch of people associated with the Dillon family that are involved criminally with medical places and with forensics places. With the transition from ACA to RICO, also we have foreign and domestic nations individually grouped and together, crimes with overt criminal enterprises and with private ones, and associated with body dumping spots, medical corruption, associated with state police, associated with the child offenders now that are involved with drug crimes, other natures of crimes with the kids too on off campuses. And natures of drug crimes, using how they have drug crime relationships with their parents. It has nothing to do with drugs. They're keeping everything to maintain their life progressions, forced not told on sickly. They're hurting each age of fact treatment nature. Our stewards, because of the way they were hurt, sickly distinctly. Even weird how they're helped. Be content with life. Our founders wanted the native course return, their value. Those are American citizens, regardless of what their positions are. They're extorted. In other words, they don't have quality of free speech. They have misinformation told to them. In other words, the native rights, our identity of relationship to the ground and to waters means to evolve, to be a tool of evolution that is true. That is not discarding the rest, how we are in nature of value, as an identity of value. This is algebraic consciousness. This is lost course returns. I'll drop the force box eggs, of course, who learns? So ancient gaming system. We're gonna organize this way. We could get on the same page. We could beg our states and areas. You know how much towns could simultaneously next summer, say, hear many pray. I mean, even especially in the winter, people need cold. Homelessness shouldn't be. And there are people that are homeless that would gain value. Just give them a place to live. That, in other words, near where there's water, whatever, like that. Now, people will change their opinions about what they want to do with their own land and things like that. When they see means that they couldn't fathom before, which happens when we organize this way. This is a nature, a way of fighting that's not going to hurt one. That's why they offensively to prevent this nature of unity from being formed. They're offensively forcing negative value natures of unity forced, valued offensively. These are people with abridged fact treatment nature constitution roles. without having been maintained value, propagated self-value originally, forced. George Washington didn't want to leave slavery in Hartford, Connecticut, right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War, Wethersfield, Connecticut. He didn't want to leave slavery here. He could only semi-counter restore it down. There are proofs that this is tied to why there might be a message too. Why there is the Berlin Turnpike. You turn a pike as a weapon of war. The turnpike before the heart of Hartford. Right there at the end of the Hartford, right at the pike before the heart of Hartford, is J.P. Morgan's grave. I believe Cedar Hill Cemetery. J.P. Morgan's grave. See, now these are also Wethersfield Police Chief's family, associated with a Fred Grisette, criminally involved with identity thefts. Natures of it, where they lie to my family member, attaching me to fake relationships to strangers, lying about the relationship, the exceptions of the few times I met Fred Grisette. He's recorded and confessed involved with crimes with Mendez brothers then and now. I didn't know. I didn't hang out with those people. And he's crimes with drugs, with the people involved with the all the jobs with the schools as victims, but as victim predators with perception and sensibilities used as criminalization nature. They care for off campuses maintained from off the edge of the ground of quality factory nature on off its sustained abuses of each age of factory nature. For roles forcing not just criminal favor, but tricks that force valued sick fakes with interbranch and with the, especially with prison clicks tied to them, especially with interbranch tied to them, because this is maintained the outcome from a whole bunch of other nations here. Maintaining that is maintained there too. There are roles with all kind of medical drug crimes against healthy people, all kinds of identity thefts, women typing fake things about people, fake conversations with men into databases. They make you raise your voice. In other words, they exploit. They make exceptions to exploit. They're preventing people from peaceful means to counter natures of gun crimes missed, knife crimes, poison crimes, identity theft crime acts. A whole bunch of bad things through time, intercity, because they're exploiting the identities worthless, pretending they're not worthless. Those are identities of the law that can't defend themselves in free speeches simultaneously and stand free speech is simultaneously inherent, active, and progressive means it was sequenced true and it's coming too. I'll tell no lies. See two sides. They hide the seed. And then they'll plead. They let no free speech. This is recorded. They have crime methods recorded. Crime natures recorded. So now they need to keep correlation nature hurt, valued hurt. They were facilitated to these natures now. Lying about me through their kids. Using what other people told them criminally. See, these are victims. In other words, in the news. I'm not knocking them, those are great people, but they're victim predators, using what other people told them criminally. So they say, oh, I would never do that. Do what? That's why I caught them. Only one time too. They lied about me raising my voice whenever they said that I did. They even recorded it themselves with that, involved with that wire crime methods, mail crimes. These are various natures, foreign and domestic, police forms also as doctors of psychology, uses of medical and of inter-campuses databases, and the sensibilities with the campuses from on and off campuses. Handling of fact treatment nature, discernment of the difference between ratiocination and pseudo-ratiocination, sickly. Especially through psychology. So I'm not a doctor, but they're recorded with a whole bunch of crime methods that are involved with the illnesses that are forced uncountered, with the exploited, forsaken, not liberated nature of volume in each nature of city, like a suburb, and suburb is the nature of a city, for example. When I say nature of city. Also, natures of cities themselves. They're different natures of city, different natures of relationship to what sickly hurts each, non distinctly, uncountered, and self valued. These are not means. These cannot, these, the means to counter our tactically denatured relationship to nature. Life progressions are in there too. Negative value nature progressions from each standing database relationship, each title, each identity of the law, valuing the perfect world forsaken. That's what you recorded and confessed involved with the narratives of the directors who are in relationships to world issues that are of and as natures as they are because they're that nature. They have that worse than entertained. They have self-value. They can hate this group and that group all they want. They need their fake sides keeping what the Quran's about from being heard with the ones who hate them for real and pretending too. The species volume doesn't hate itself naturally. We have we have our emotions. They have behavior crimes roles with the experts on countering things like behavior. You know, we have the behavioral crime division reported associated with the FBI. The recorded behavioral crime. In other words, they failed as organized crime countering body. They failed to allow free speech. What they do to pretend that offensively, they pretend they're against prejudice. They're out of their minds. They're out of their minds. Free speech. And these Domain brothers, I never had a conversation with them in my life. I explained the exceptions they tried to film. They were facilitated to that because they were crime rolls with a whole bunch of people, foreign and domestic, facilitating the crimes with the policing of the. We have state streams from off campuses, interstates, in relationship to all kinds of natures of crimes and life progressions tied to things that are private that should never be legalized, and then in collusion with overt criminal enterprises. They're in collusion with other nations that don't even like each other, but they need the same, they valuing the same criminally roles and needs to keep states and areas criminally foreign influenced and pretend for other causes legitimate. Which even where that it is legitimate, it's used for what is not legitimate. And they have wire crimes, so you can't use the phone because they're tied to their behavior crimes. Their crime method is by pretending overall convictions. They pretend they don't understand people, and they're stacking crime acts as a torture method, as an identity theft crime method, as roles as a breaching screen, as roles as breaching tools and weapons. CCSU has many from my town involved with the intercity Hartford, Connecticut, north end of Hartford, on and off Fox, Connecticut News, with these two Domain brothers, with these two Mendez police brothers, with the uses of black and white, police forms, judges, gangs, and other. And through time, on and off Trinity College involved with that. With people pretend they're doing vetting, whatever, like that, with drugs and stuff like that with the kids, with little tricks with that, where they spread rumors about people. Mark Violet, his brother, Mike Violet, his family recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with crimes with. See, I didn't know at the time. Now, this is now as when I'm adult, they brought up the roles with other people brought up the roles with them. With they, I only know them through that. Involved with this Chelsea Govinskis, Lucinda. I don't know her last name, Alderuccio, man. I don't know if that's the wrong. Sorry, if there's a Lucinda though. These are people also with the inter-campuses, inter-religious spots criminally involved, and criminal uses of flags, especially even regarding if someone themselves influenced that. It wasn't alone. And in other words, they're going to misinterpret either way with little tests they try to do, things like that. In other words, this is an identity theft. Is one of the best way. One of the things it is always. Natures of it missed with the organized crime recorded using the extending factory sensibilities of the people of Hartford, Connecticut, lying to them. Natures of election crimes that are all victim roles with it. But then they're victim, how they're maintained victim predators is how mandated law is not being let follow. How they use town offices of Wethersfield, Connecticut through time. How they criminally use the switching of the Wethersfield police to that location, also with houses near there involved criminally with interbranch police and their family members with identity theft crime acts, spreading rumors behind people's backs, pretending they're doing it just because they're looking out for their kid with the girls and stuff like that, spreading lies with them. Joshua Schumack, I never had anything to do with him. They're lying about any contacts with it. He's also recorded confessed. I barely know him, in other words. One of the people involved with the Pandolf family, also with the CCSU. At the end of the Broad Turnpike, people involved with identity theft, crime acts rolls with that with Hartford, Connecticut, with the policing of those clubs there, wherever they have shared. These are Russian families, also at Hartford Hospital, other hospitals in the area recorded and confessed involved with them, with all kinds of natures of drug crimes, criminal uses of gun crimes, natures of gun crimes, knife crimes, natures of fact treatment knaves. Kyle Gill, recorded and confessed by people in my town, was abused when he was a kid. He recorded and confessed and confirmed that to me with his sister. They have bad girls going into like stripper clubs and stuff like that too, from with the police forms associated with it. See, everyone not having enough money. That's in collusion. I mean, that's in conjunction with what is preventing free speech of areas used criminally. See, their sensibilities, they shouldn't put their business in other people's business. They get put into it by people influencing them to it into branch. Then it's their fault. Now they use the very in other words, we have our directors that are worthless. Whereas how it counts. Other nations are their legal natures, identities of leaders are worthless too, whereas how it counts. not naturally. There are still our nature of volume, which is a valued system tactical ulterior from the one from the ones they're forcing, directly and indirectly. They're victim predators. The sciences are criminally foreign influence in semi-ancient times, each of them. So the sounds of the English language have an identity of relationship to themselves. They have an identity. They have an identity of relationship to themselves, which is inside the complete identity, which also is with other languages, with other sounds, other acceptations of sound, in other words, other positions of sound, as the same nature of volume, which is in diffusion to itself, as a self-generation, not just as a self-generation, but with a little bit more of another nature of spine and or of body, another nature of body of value. Maintained, maintaining means to be more of itself. By the way, it is a simultaneous nature in relationship to the difference between Earth's simultaneously distinct and non-distinct relationship to itself, as Earth's simultaneous distinct and non-distinct relationship to the rest of space. This is the place where the rest of nature and humanity once had always, the campus enabling everywhere, the science of connecting simultaneously inherent, active, and progressive means to its complete means. That leading science. That doesn't work without the ground. That doesn't work without water's value raised. The pork is raised. Okay. So we need the Constitution defended. We have nothing defended. Well, what law are you quoting? Marbury versus Madison. Fix the sequence shifts. Fix them from interbranch, forging names, switching names, pretending people have mental diagnosis by stealing their identities. The same cliques in my town I involved. Every exception criminally exploited. I had nothing to do with this Joshua Julian until you watch how he was harassing me online. Joshua Julian. You watch how he was involved with the principal child offender's Facebook page. You watch how the former director of the FBI is also involved with people involved with Local 230, recorded and confessed involved with next to the schools, criminally involved with the child offenders further, with the principal child offenders campus further too. I don't know their names. Who's got my name in their head and pretending they don't understand when I said there were rape threats and confessions regarding this? Who lied about the sequence shift about and when they had the guy call in my house a whole bunch of times, make confessions to me and my family? They didn't let me speak. They hid about that. They were also hiding their roles with such from since before that. These are people with such since before the Trade Center attack. Then in the Trade Center attack, kind of criminally. After they already used Connecticut campus of each of them criminally, specifically for that, as one's Washington, D.C. and Trade Center tied to facilitated the crime acts with the area already. The Jody Pierce, DeMorrow family, recorded, confessed, demonstrated. Other Kerr family, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. Two Mendez police, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. They had Jody Pierce, who I barely know. I don't know these Mendez police at all. They're recorded involved with fire department drug cliques and stuff like that. They use that in their roles with how they're lying to groups. They're lying to individuals, groups, and together. They're another nature of child abuse, other natures of election crimes that are preempted, like with this Dillon family. There's a Sean Dillon and a Kevin Dillon, and there's an Anna Dillon. And they're also involved with real estate crimes with judges, also with various natures of courts, recorded and confessed involved with this Cuddy family, and with Park Street, Alina's Pizza, Daryl Sullivan, involved with all kinds of criminal justice rackets on and off CCSU houses and people criminally involved. Fake news crime acts criminally involved. Proven child sex offenders, other natures of offenders criminally involved further with the schools, with spreading lies about people through time, with setting up illusions to pretend they know them afterwards, and then they accept exploitations of that, like with Jim Socia, Jen Socia, and Amy Socia. I don't know those people. They were influenced to pretend other, and they probably tried to film other. They implied that one time where they tried to pretend other, acted it. God knows what they put in paper. In other words, these are also people involved, from Wethersfield, criminally interbranch with on-off CCSU, whole bunch of natures of crime acts and actors, forging and switching names, putting fake falsified police reports of mixed narratives so they could adapt to who's going to look in. This is the natures of crime roles with the former director of the FBI. These are people criminally involved with him in his capacities personally as a defending criminal. They used then Me Too and treatments of Congress, criminally areas of the states criminally foreign influenced, crime roles with child offenders, pretending offensively to be against that by using Me Too, because they're preventing mandated law. They're pretending people have mental diagnosis criminally. They're forging names, switching names to do so. They're quoting statutes and pretending it gives them a right to do that. They're lying in cases. They're crime acts roles with child offenders of mixed natures, with criminal uses of untimely deaths. Forget about it. They don't have the right to do that. They're mail crimes. They don't have the right to do that. They're wire crimes. They don't have the right to do that. Criminal uses of it after pretending they didn't use. They have the right to lie that they didn't use it criminally. They don't have the right to do that. It's recorded. They're forging and switching names. They're preventing identity of the ground means to counter this. So there's a Perone family too. I had nothing to do with them. She was directed to pretend she was mad at me because she had a bunch of boyfriends that she with these military police criminally involved. With her, in other words, to they tell people how to time things when people aren't looking, do little tricks, and they pretend they're men. They pretend they're tough. They do that on the side too, because they have a whole bunch of the Justin Kovinski said that he was involved with her intimately. He was sitting next to her. I don't know. The only time I saw them in front of each other, and then that was with a Mark, Mark. I forgot his name. Mark Violet, his brother, recorded confessed involved with Danielle Perron and her brother criminally. Now these are people involved with the end of the South Street Highway involved. And then they get the sensibilities of the places associated with the police forms of the interbranch families. They use in the identity of the ground, like places where these police forms, these are going to go off because they're exploiting the identity of the ground. Everyone's time too fast, too slow. Then because they're exploiting the time of the identities of the law, they want other people valued. They're the stealing identities. They facilitated a Luigi Guerrero. I don't know if that's his father, one of the politicians involved criminally, the whole of their family. And I don't mean to be calling people criminal, but they called me at first criminally, and they've been doing this through time, making up stories. If I ever lied back to them, it was after they did. They can't follow the rules. They can't put things on paper without criminal tricks and lies and evidence crime roles and sequence shifts. Identity theft crime act roles valued by others too. Not even that won't do it on paper. So they're trying to make a way for them to do it on paper, trying to make things up more. They're not following state mandated law. I caught them with crime acts with kids. 3 times they used for the means to force people to triage. I knew they were going to do something criminal. That's why I forced my mother to call the cops without telling her why. She wouldn't do it. So it took me days. I had to smash things. I said, call the, you know what I'm saying? I had to force her without knowing why. Made them make her cry and stuff like that. A month after my father died. Why did I have to do that? Because there's a Kevin Dillon who speaks through other people. And he's recorded and confessed and demonstrated involved with more child offenders. This is before one of them was proven. One of them already was proven. Now there are 2 proven. The family members of one of them, and the other ones are involved too. Further, because they have the family members of Weathersfield parents. They lied to them. They acted to them too. See, we're acting now as adults and as the courts covering up their acting in the past. They pretend that they have integrity with their databases. They have none. They're preventing this from being countered by forging and switching names and by lying to the attorney generals of the United States, which reveals they're also recorded involved with the breaching organized crime method still. Maintaining areas and states attorneys used criminally, forging names, switching names, other natures of crime methods that are preventing victim defendants and victim plaintiffs from means to counter identity thefts against them way worse. That's all rehearsed. So if Fox CT and if WFSB would correct their fake sides of stories and their faked information and lies they told about me with their interbranch sources retired and standing criminally foreign influence, then then you know it'll be better for you guys and for the and the people associated with this Allegro's Cafe. I never had a conversation with that Allegro kid in my life. Kid, he's a guy he was with the Club Blue. He's associated with these 2 Mendez police and with Dillon family and with Intercity on off CCSU on off foreign and domestic locations shared used criminally and with overt criminal enterprises and criminal uses of body dumping spots roles and crime acts roles with investigators leading up to and in cases and with online police identity theft crime acts and crime acts roles, natures of crime acts bonded, and effectively maintaining strangers motivated to pretend other as knaves, being coached to it by the courts that are preventing mandated law because they're recorded with the police too, grouped individually and grouped using crime methods and wire crimes and pretending things recorded. When they hear me saying this, they have to write more lies and try to plot more ways to pretend other is recorded. See, I don't know the names of my new neighbors, but this Kevin Dillon is recorded and confessed involved demonstrating threats and recorded crime acts roles that he suggested they were involved with. Because right after they made repeated confessions about calling the police about a car that was in front of my house. He's also recorded and confessed involved with crimes with police forms associated with what's his name? Brian Bowen, and with gangs associated with them with drugs and drug dealing with on off with people associated with Paul Zano and with places on and off the middle school, on and off Wawa place, and on and off Two Route Highway, on and off Weathersfield Pizza, Stephen Stocko. I never had a conversation with him in my life. I I I call on the phone. God knows what he pretended I said to him. He hung up before I said anything. I in other words, he's pretending things. They're being coached to call in fake things to police. These are people that are involved. So that and not because I was the, they these are people involved with CCSU, all kinds of criminal ways, with various natures of departments. A whole bunch of people from my town criminally involved with them through time. Verbal fact treatment, federal crimes, identity thefts, mail crime rules tied to that, wire crime acts rules tied to that, sequence shifts in cases proven and further recorded, criminal uses of interbranch drug clicks. They're not letting this reported. Criminal uses of the Facebook of the kids, criminal uses of the. See, we have local 230s involved with streams of money that go into locals, nationals, internationals, and then they get invested. Straight, that's shared police with that. There and here, shared policing of stores, manifest facade. Forget about it. This is not legal. It's legal. We're at the end of a whip, at the end of a breaching organized crime method, that our organized crime, our legal nature is worse than failed to counter, to allow, understood, because they can't stand correlation nature simultaneously inherent active and progressive means with free speech. See breach. So we have means to afford what's not going to come through private, what they call private, what they pretend is legitimate free market. It's not free nothing. These aren't our means. Call that science. Don't pretend one science, especially law. Pretend that spoke for what's people stacked in New York City. Don't pretend one person. Don't blame it on. See, it's inverted, where we are individuals one way, a president is individual another way. Individual volume is preventive free speech, methodically, sickly, distinctly, to keep from how sickly, non-distinctly from being discerned. But this can instantly be discerned. This is what our founders are about. If George Washington can tell no lies, then he did not chop down the cherry tree in Connecticut because free speech demonstrates he left overt, crazy laws, not just color, crazy laws, slavery laws against everyone, color sickly, distinctly, worse, too. No, but not just that. Everyone's sickly raw as slave, as fact treatment nature, slow tortured, as propagated criminal insidiousness nature to use as a tool, to use as a breaching screen, as pseudo patriotism. That's what led us into World War One. The only exception is the value of France was stuck, forced count. They could only counter extort what was extorting them there too. The same thing with Germany. These are identities of the nature of volume that were taken to defense of identities that you can't defend and sustain yourself with free speech and simultaneously inherent active and progressive means at the same time. They built modern sophistication only capable of needing valued original and still the real causes of negative value nature progressions acts nature's blamed on other things. No one can afford out of this. Not one person can afford out. Only way we can do it is to afford it together. The longer we try to wait, the more natures of industry become natures of wealth that will only conceive themselves as nature of wealth, as knaves. They won't let you discern the difference between natures of industries, natures of wealth. Again, where we have private juxtaposed, valued, uncharged, even though they're recorded criminal enterprises, criminally foreign influence, criminally acting that way, as natures that way, as actually recorded, not even lay lawyer, police form criminal. See, I have the phenomenon of means to have recorded confessions and demonstrations, means to show it to everyone, criminal uses of courts, judges, criminal uses of their police forms, criminal uses of foreign and domestic military, hierarchy of whatever they have, the same titles as police forms and military, with the policing of the prisons, with the training of them, on and off campuses in sustained ways, the roles with drugs, the roles using that to keep fakes covered up and facilitated, crime acts roles facilitated against each age of integrity. So a bunch of people recorded, confessed, and demonstrated that Chet Casper, I forgot his sister's name, and his family is involved with interbranch and military and foreign, facilitated the crime acts roles with my name and with people associated with Hartford, downtown Hartford, clubs, and sequence shifts. And that was right tied to the time when they reported the death of Greg Kyler. That was right at the time where they recorded and confessed involved crimes with police forms on and off CCSU leading up to a 2006 case criminally. And they used other depositions criminally. And they used fake signs of correlation nature through time. That's what they do. They make fake signs of fact sheet, because they're correlation natures of Trinity has value. And it's just Trinity's relationship to this complete nature. This is worse than extortion. I don't even have to go into all these details, just to complain about some judges recorded behind all the crimes with them coming into the court every day because they've been lying about the value of the area. They make crime rolls with the police forms associated with them. All the bodies with their courts, their own kids they use criminally, interbranch. These are sick people with prisons. They made prisons look nice on TV too, by the way. Even though it doesn't look nice, what looks nice about that? They're worse than that. In other words, because they have crime methods by that. Those people are recorded with crimes with their criminals and patients before they're in there. They're using criminal uses of the ground. Sandy Hook, Newtown, they're not letting reported, but it's already recorded. There are crime acts roles with a principal child offender, with all kinds of medical doctors forging names, switching names, various natures of crime acts roles on and off campuses. Crime acts roles with to the mobile gas stations in Weathersfield through time. They saw me out too to confess that and demonstrate that. Those are the people that were ended up facilitated the crime acts roles with complete strangers pretending other that are criminally involved with the Trade Center attack context, first criminally involved interstates. These are ones facilitate crime acts roles with Washington, D.C., Trade Center crime collects roles with database crimes, identity thefts, criminal uses of people that don't even know you because they're in other classes, but you're going to be called out of the office. You're going to walk by here. They're going to make a confession to you when you walk by. That's men and women that when they were kids. Then now I recognize the face just only from that, associated with Joshua Stryker. Whole bunch of men and women with the campuses from off campuses facilitated the federal crimes with police forms, federal and interbranch local. Interbranch crime acts already invested, needing to hide that, tied to what is happening now with differences. There are no differences, but they need to pretend there are from the background. They can't pretend so on paper because they already did so criminally. I can't get a response to that because they're forging names and switching names and using time always criminally to torture. Worse than extortion. God knows what narratives they have in the background. More than anything in life, I want to be able to tell about the simple liar way they tell people are lying when they deal with what is black or white and when they pretend to be about integrity regarding that. That's all I want to do more than anything because it's so simple. It's a tactically nature relationship to nature. In other words, so they don't say because they know that they're extorting with me with boxing too. God knows I could have had 3, 4 boxing careers by now and made money with each one of them. God knows, you never know what could happen too. That's why too. I'm not going to go into something playing pretending theater with people like Sammy Vega, pure victims, but pure victim weapons, and indifferent to it, and worse than indifferent to it, with the courts involved with him criminally, various nature of courts involved with criminally with kids too, with DCF tied to him and his mother. Police forms associated with him, his mother with courts, criminally involved with Washington D.C. Trade Center. Prosecutors have no business being identities law originally, and still complete predators, victim predators. But victims were victim predators, complete. They're only capable of theater. That's all they were shown. All through Rome. Get me a response, these child offenders. Rome. These cowards are with wire crime methods, with mail crime methods, and then with identity ground lies. These are crime rolls into religious spots. Jewish community centers recorded criminally involved. Reported too a call from no from other nation with threats on a Jewish community center. Also, there's a Darren with East Hartford recorded and confessed involved with crimes with judges with child sex offenders proven and further recorded. In other words, further recorded and confessed. They forced that was forced to prove it. They first forced it before it was proven that was being forced. These crime acts rolls with a whole bunch of judges and police forms associated with a Leahy family and with an officer McDonald's and with a DeMoro family and with a whole bunch of people I mentioned and a Pruzzi family. I had a fifth grade teacher named Pruzzi. His name was mentioned by someone at CCSU, recorded and confessed involved with criminal uses of people associated with the former director of the FBI and with crime acts, criminal uses of on off CCSU with them through time. Tied to confessions from strangers I didn't understand when I was in grammar school that were real fast. And when people made time walk by me, they like time things like that because they're keeping connected roles with line progressions value. They're keeping fakes with the interbranch prosecutors and their kids, and the judges and their kids in their roles with those people associated with them, having used them criminally through time. The databases of those courts already having been used criminally through time. These are quality of fact cheaping nature courts that are preventing information because they know they're predators. They're not just doing that because they don't want to hurt people, though. They know they're predators and they're keeping it that way. Blame the other things others themselves and self-value. They're very, in other words, forgiveness is because only one person needs to have free speech that is not exploiting exceptions to the truth, and that is having and is furthering this line of science, actual science. The difference between actual science, because the only nature of science led by a breaching organized crime method. Don't pretend you're science when someone's trying to demonstrate that. Pretend you don't realize. Let's go. Now I want a response for the interbranch rape threats and then crime action cases with the child offenders before they were proven. These are also sequence shifts in crime action roles with people that were with a proven sequence shift tied to more crime acts with more people tied to them criminally, with a sequence shift from inside the ninth cervicate had been affected. And then criminally leading up to and in the 2006 case with defendant of the FBI is tied to a whole bunch of people, crime acts roles with people that were put in cases in classes with me that were tied to the one house in my area with the kid that came in when I was in fifth grade, associated with the Joe DeMar, associated with the Pruzzi, and with the Cohen they coerced, criminally on off CCSU. I don't know if it's a relatives of that Cohen associated with the. These are crime methods against whoever wins the office. It's also using them though. It's forcing that rules with that. We have opinion natures. There's not one election that has been free. And in other words, whoever wins, they're leveraged against them. The FBI, our organized crime countering bodies, are in collusion with overt criminal enterprises and with uncharged but recorded ones. They're recorded with natures they need to hide now from the American people. So they've been coercing fake news. They've been keeping all victim predators. So that when you have fake news, you have your identity stolen. You attach to fake lies. Also, as lies that are used to hide lie progressions and to influence more people that they're hiding their own lies behind the judges and the people lying with them. And they're forging and switching names, so there's no common means to counter. I had never had anything to do with this Phil Colon and the other Subby Scalora. A whole bunch of men and women recorded confessed the Scalora family. Other Scalora is also criminally involved with CCSU with him. He's also recorded confessed involved criminally with CCSU and with drug dealing with Wethersfield schools through time. I just remind,